Hey, Mommy. Welcome to the Mami Collective podcast. I'm Paulina Roe, and this is your space, the No BS All Vibes podcast for ambitious moms who know that motherhood and big dreams go hand in hand. Whether you're killing it in the boardroom, hustling on your side gig, or just trying to get through the day without reheating your coffee for the third time, and yes, girl, we've all been there, this is the place for you. We're here to flip the script on the whole you can't have it all narrative, because spoiler alert, you can. Motherhood doesn't dim your ambition, it actually fuels it. And we're going to talk all about it, the wins, the struggles, and the moments that make you say, damn, I am really doing this. So buckle up, boo. We're diving into real talk, inspiration, and the occasional hot take to keep you fired up and thriving. This is the Mami Collective. Let's do this. So Mami Collective, Paulina's here. And listen, I have an amazing guest today that I was so excited to have. I was nervous that you'd say no to me. I don't know why, even though you're the sweetest, kindest soul I've ever met in my whole life. Like, and I've met you before, so I can say that. And I've talked to you, several times, whether on social media. I listened to your podcast, Know Your Aura. Mystic Michaela is here. How are you?
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so good. I was excited all day I got to talk with you. I remember when I met you so many years ago at the station in Chicago, and it was just the most fun, authentic crew of people. Just so much fun. And you just stood out. So I really appreciate you having me here.
Oh my God, make me cry, I swear. Well, I appreciate you being here. When we met years ago, it was so crazy because I feel like I was in a whole different place in my life. I'm still at the same company, same radio show, different people a little bit, right? Things kind of changed in that setting. But obviously I'm a mom now. I think I was very single too when I met you, and now I'm super married. So it's such a crazy transition. But I'm happy we got to stay connected. You and I, like I said, I've gotten a reading from you too, which we're going to dive, into kind of all about you and sort of what that means for the listeners who may not be as familiar with all of this. But I know my colors because, you are an aura. So how would I call that? Is it an aura expert or a color reader? What would I say? So it's on point.
I see colors in people, and I always have. So I didn't even know the word aura. It's just something I always just saw. And then just you grow up and you're like, I guess I'm seeing auras. Those are what is this? It's energy around people. So I'm an aura reader. I'm a psychic medium. That's what I do. It just kind of merges together in that weird label.
No, I think it's so cool. So I grew up with a mom who she used to read a magazine, and it's in Polish, but it translates to English as mystical, I guess. So it's actually kind of crazy, right? Mystic, because it's it's a word that would say almost like witch, but it's not like you witch, scary. It's a mystical being, right? So that's what you would call this magazine / what that word means. And I remember she would read it every day. It was her Bible. It's like a magazine, a whole subscription thing. And then she would do tarot cards with herself, but she would pull cards every morning. So to me, a lot of this was just so it was so normalized to me, right? And I always felt am I different? Am I not supposed to be doing this? Because I feel I would talk to my friends growing up, but no one really related. Yeah. So I just feel a lot of this was introduced to me so young. And I feel at the end of the day, no matter where your beliefs lie, I think it's fair to say that energy is loud. Just energy.
That's a good way to put it. We all feel things, and you can give them woo-woo names or science names or any name you want to give it. But the energy you feel coming off people is real. And there's different ways you can interpret it and work with it and benefit from it, and also benefit from your own energy and your response. I call it being energetically responsible, because when you walk into a room, you are telling people who you are before you even open your mouth. And you can have more control over that if you just pay attention to your energy.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's very true. And we're definitely going to dive into it. With the colors, though, I know, again, we'll dive into it, but I know with that as well, that's sort of something that you saw growing up when you were young, right? That was something that came to you so natural. Can you kind of talk about that? Start from the day you were born. I'm just kidding. But when you were little, how did you realize that you had these gifts? I call them gifts, and I kind of think you do too. Because to me, I feel it's something really special about you.
Oh, thank you. To me, just seeing colors, it earliest memory is like seeing purple around my mom, and that's just how, like, when when you go back into your kid memories, mine have color in them around people. And it's like smelling. It's like somebody asking you, hey, how did you know you could smell? Like, I don't know. I just do, like that. Like, it's just part of my senses. So I didn't even
Mm.
think it was anything. Honestly, it was just part of how I interpreted the world. Like, some people have inner monologues, or some people, visualize differently, or just you have an ear for music or something. I would just like see colors around people and not think about it. Later, when I realized not everybody can do this, I just kind of kept it to
Mm.
myself. It was my own kind of tell that I use on people for my life. And I didn't even use it that it was just more of like a natural use. I'd have, okay, so red people are intense and purple people are fun and the yellow people are, okay, they're more organized. You got, and it would really, how it would affect me, I think, because I'm such an empath, or meaning I feel other people's energy so strongly, is how do I deal with this person? How do I get to be on their good side, or have like a good relationship with them? Or growing
Mm.
up little Catholic schoolgirl, being good was like a big thing. So like, how do I be good? Okay, this teacher likes this teacher likes that, this is how you talk to people, like that. So it was more for me like a tool for fitting in, honestly. And then when I actually went to school to be a teacher. So
Yeah.
I got my bachelor's and my master's in Spanish education, and I was teaching middle school kids Spanish. And I was like, hey, wait a second, like all this color stuff actually is a bigger deal, and can be helpful to me as a teacher, because then I would differentiate instruction based on aura colors. So just how you teach language based in aura color, basically. So yellow's like grammar, or reds
Mm.
need competition, so like a game, or purples need to act it out in a menu restaurant scene or something like that. So
Yeah.
just kind of like using it that way to differentiate. But then it just got more and more intense, because there's more to it than just that. So it would get more intense. And that's kind of like just the evolution of it. Talking about being able to see colors around people took me a minute, because I realize it sounds absolutely insane. And I realize that people are like, what are you talking about? And I'm sensitive to that. So I would just keep it to myself, which is very opposite of how I am now. And it's been a real evolution for myself too, with just using my voice and talking about it, bringing awareness to it for other people to help themselves, which is my real
Right.
passion.
Absolutely. I think you're able to kind of bring in like all the parts of you, right, to help others, which I think is probably one of your like life missions, or what do they say, like, when you're here for a reason, right? Maybe that's
Yeah.
yours because obviously you're an educator, you're a teacher, but you also have this gift. So I think you're able to, again, teach people, help people understand others themselves. You sure as hell have helped me, because I am married to a red aura, and I work with a red aura who hosts the show that I'm on. And I catch myself saying this, and I'm always like having to sort of reiterate what a red aura means and stands for, because I'm like, I have to remember, like, a new listener might be listening, right? They don't know what this is. I said it last week, but they don't remember today. So I'll look at Fred and I'll be like, well, you're a red aura, so you don't understand. And then I'm like, I know that means nothing to anyone listening that doesn't understand what that means, but a red aura is intense. And like,
Right.
and I always make fun of them, him and my husband. I'm like, you guys are just logical.
Mhm.
Like, I believe, so tell me if I'm wrong. You told me that I am blue with purple out, like
That's
an
what I
outer
see
ring,
on you. Right. So like purple, blue. And
purple
I
blue.
would even go to say like blue to go, which is like a blue indigo mashup. So what does that mean? So purples are like creative and intuitive, and can't really, the 9 to 5 doesn't suit them super well. Like being
No.
like everybody else, being stagnant, having the same day over and over again can be really suffocating for a purple. Also, like with you, I feel like the purple drives you a lot in different ways. Also, with when you're purple, your way of being organized is different. You kind of, if you remember something, you're like, oh, I better do that right now, or I'm gonna
Mhm.
procrastinate or forget it. You work well in chaos and chaotic environments, which is
They
like
say I
probably
thrive. I feel like,
radio, like, so it's very like better. Oh, we're changing everything. Never mind. World's upside down. Let's do this again. Do. Different personalities you can deal with. You're very fluid with, very adaptable is a good word for purple. Now, blue or blue to go, but I think you got more blue to go. It's probably since being a mom, which can kind of change your aura up just a little. Um, so being blue means like heart-centered, feeling other people's feelings, feeling like you have to fix them, feeling like you have to help, being really good at knowing what people need, being really good at understanding, what you can and can't talk about, really good with kind of skirting around sensitive topics. That your purple's like, oh, they're upset about that. And your blue's like, let's skirt around it, like that.
Yeah.
But blues also, they're just really good at being at home, like, being a little homebodies and making a home and doing that. But it's funny because purple's like the opposite. It's like, I want to go out, I want to do this, I want to have fun. But blue's like, I want to stay in, I want to cuddle. So you might be in your blue moment at this time, which is just more conducive to being a mother. So like, I feel like that so like the way they go together can also be something that when I do an aura reading, like the way that your colors merge mean things too. So just like what you're dealing with in the moment, what your patterns are, what your motivations are, what your style of communication. There's so many things that go along with it. And what I notice is like we shame ourselves so much. We always are shaming ourselves for things that are just part of who we are. And the more we accept it, the more we can do better with it. Like auras aren't excuses, but they can help you explain how you do things or what your behavior is going to be. So you can work with it.
Oh, I know. I love that. So I kind of want to dive into what kind of colors you see on moms, or like when you see a mom with a certain color, kind of like what that means. And does that affect like our parenting style? Is that just sort of like how we react when our kids are misbehaving? Because I'm really curious how a red aura would discipline a kid versus a blue aura. But before I do you mind breaking down kind of like the rest of the colors just so like listeners get familiar with them?
Yeah, absolutely. So like, okay, so reds are your direct, assertive, take charge type leaders. They have good natural instincts about others, and yeah, they can be very intense. So these are like your firefighters, your kind of police service people, EMTs, like business owners, entrepreneurs, stuff like that. Blues are naturally empathic, sensitive people, compassionate, thoughtful givers. These are like your nurses, your therapists, teachers, whatnot. Yellows are your organized, curious, multitasking people. They seek a lot of self-improvement. They love direct, honest communication. Usually, these are your administrators or interior designers or real estate agents. Very like to the T on everything. Purples are creative, intuitive. They're rebellious. They crave change. They crave creative outlets. So a lot of people in the entertainment industry, and honestly, a lot of people are just purple. They're the ones that are just like job jumping, or it's a job where you're a lot, because I just know right now a lot of your listeners are purple. So if you constantly feel like your life purpose is not career connected, it's okay, because a lot of life purpose as a purple tends to be transformation in contexts. So picking different contexts and growing from it. Greens are like logical, intellectual, detail-oriented thinkers. They like challenges. These are engineers. I mean, these are the people that are like hiking alone somewhere. Like sometimes I come off the grid greens, or they're like very just handy, or they're like scholarly. Turquoises are compassionate, old soul, quiet healers. They kind of mirror others to try to help them. So usually I see them in a lot of spiritual work. So like Reiki or meditation or, yoga studios or whatnot. They're the ones that are ending up doing a lot of energy work. They're in healthcare too, turquoises. Indigo's a lot like blue, but it's just like a little bit more intense. So they're more absorbing empaths who have the ability to mind read and kind of non-verbally communicate energetically, and they just require a lot more one-on-one time with people or alone time. So usually I see these people as like speech pathologists or therapists one-on-one, or people who are like a lot of therapists where you work one-on-one intensely with somebody for a long period of time. And then pinks, last one, pinks is optimistic. They're pure, loving, like innocent energies. They tend to be really good at manifesting, really hopeless romantic. Usually, like, these are influencers. They're in the entertainment industry. Sometimes they're kind of just, they're adults that get labeled a little bit as naive or childish, but they do it on purpose in order. So Marilyn Monroe was a pink, Britney Spears is pink. So there's just some examples there to kind of make that understandable. But yeah, so those are the colors in a nutshell. And then usually you have two and they work together.
Yes, yes. And then, at the end of the episode too, and we can even do it now, but you do have a quiz, I believe, that you direct people to, right?
Yeah, knowyouraura.com. There's a quiz. You'll see there's a quizzes section and it's in there.
Beautiful. Yes. I'm sure everybody listening is like, I want to know what my color is.
Yeah, just take it. It's 10 questions. Yeah.
And it's so cool to know too, because I feel like it's really helped me understand myself better, like we've mentioned, but also just those around me. I married a red aura, so that is there's a lot of head bumping. It's a lot of why aren't we thinking logically from his end, and I'm over here I'm thinking from my heart. It's a lot of that.
Oh yeah, it helps in marriages a lot to know partner communication styles, and then them to understand about you too. I've married a red too, so I totally get what you're saying.
Literally, I'm okay. I'm every day I'm we're learning new things, or at least right, how to kind of make this work. And I mean, obviously, I love my husband, but it's just so funny how different we think. It's the littlest things. But
girl, I get you.
No, you're right. Yep. And he's a firefighter, so that 100% checks out.
That's hysterical.
100%.
I've seen stuff. It's really hard to argue with the reds because it's okay, I get it, you're right, but so
yes,
yeah. Not saying you're wrong, but two things can be true. Yeah.
Exactly. So now, okay, we've broken down the colors as far as, and you said that there's two of them that sort of kind of, are a part of each of us. They kind of do their thing together. I think some have three you've mentioned before too, right?
Sometimes
it's rare.
Three. Yeah.
People have three. Love it. So now, as far as moms, parenting, all that good stuff, what do you kind of see as far as the red moms? How do they kind of do this mom thing versus maybe a blue mom? Are there different parenting styles? Because at the end of the day, we're all moms, right? And I always say this shit is hard. This is the hardest job in the world, right? So I give grace to all moms, but I am really curious how maybe our aura colors kind of come to play, with our parenting.
Oh, absolutely. Just being a mom of older kids. Now I have a 10 and a 16-year-old. I think a big thing with motherhood, with social media and seeing how other people do things and kind of what we're told, a lot of it comes from a more yellow aura perspective. So if you're not yellow and you're seeing a lot of advice or influence or support kind of going to that style, you can feel like a real failure. Even if you are yellow, you're going to sit there and be like, oh, I'm not doing it good enough, So just keeping that part in mind, because the culture of motherhood is not just one size fits all. You have to just in aura color, I'll say the best aura you are is your own authentically. How that works for you is the best way possible. So how I see motherhood affect any aura color is you're usually leaning on one color over the other one, usually. So everybody has an empath aura. You're either one color of yours, maybe both, is an empath aura color, meaning purple, blue, indigo, or turquoise. So you definitely have either one of those or two of those, which means that when you're a mom, that's the one you kind of lean on the most. And that's the one that can kind of take over in a lot of your interactions. Why? Because when you become a mother, and I've said this so many times, and listen, I'm super not a professional, at all. This is just what I get energetically. When you become a mom, your energy switches and you become extremely absorbent. And I feel like it's just for survival. That's how you're communicating with your baby. And right. The energy that promotes that and supports that is your empath aura color. When you lean more on that color, you become way more sensitive, way more flustered. You can be really aware. You don't have boundaries. So you can't deal with the same crap you used to. Okay, so if your house becomes your sanctuary, you need a schedule, not because you care about the schedule. It's more about just I need space. I need a break. I need to know what's happening. I need to keep my anxiety low, because when you become, especially new moms, your energy is all over, open, raw. And it's a lot, and you're absorbing everyone's thoughts and everyone's judgments. That's and of course it's hormones and all that, but like honestly, a lot of it when I see a new mom, they're super blue, super indigo, super turquoise, super purple. There's whatever their empath aura color is huge and has overtaken them. And that lasts for a while. But your parenting style definitely, so that's just like that's one facet that I have to tell people because everybody always feels like bad. Like, did I go crazy? What's wrong with me? And it's like, no, your energy just became way more communicative. Your spiritual body just got bigger, and it's for a purpose. It's so you can take care of your baby and know your baby's needs immediately. Needs everybody else is like, what? Even when you go to see the doctor, you're like, okay, but something's not right, or I know, you just know because your energy is so connected to that little one. Of course you do. Anyways, but then depending on what your color is in general, parenting styles do differ. So I always joke like yellow aura moms always have their kids in bed by like 7, and like I always strive for that. I'm purple indigo, by the way. So like I always would strive for that, but that's really hard for me. And it always has
Very
been.
hard.
Yeah, so it's kind of like it depends. That's just one little example. Like if you're a yellow, like maybe that works for you, and your kids pick up too. Like that's a non-negotiable on mom. In bed by 7. Like they're not fighting you. Well, my kids pick up something different, and they're like, "Girl, we know we can get you," or whatever. And it's just kind of like going with your flow and not being so hard on yourself because styles do change depending on your aura color.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I'm sure, like you mentioned, like my blue has shifted to like a blue to go, just even from becoming a mom. So I'm sure, like today, like the today Paulina, right, who has these colors and kind of how I operate, probably, yeah, it does make a difference. And like I'm trying to think of my own friends. I don't know what I would. Well, I guess I would kind of know what their colors are, but I just feel like at the end of the day, I always say like, if we made it through the day, it was a good day.
That's
I'm
a
in the
purple way
trenches,
of being.
No,
I know it's true. It's like everyone's good. No one's crying. I did it. Like when they get
100%.
older too, I think it affects how you talk to them and stuff as well. Like if you have kids that are like, 5, 10, 16, like I have, it affects you in different ways. Like I noticed, for example, like green aura moms and dads too, but this is a mom podcast, so I'll keep it to moms. Green aura moms, for example, they're very like natural consequences. So what do you get with your kids? We all get the same thing. It's like, I don't want to wear, I don't know, my sneakers today. I want to wear my flip-flops. Like me, I'm like, oh my God, you're going to hurt yourself. You're going to get a blister. Da, 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 da. A green aura mom's like, I'll tell you once, it's not a good idea. No, I want to wear it. Like, have fun. Goodbye. And then that kid learns in their little way. They're like, oh, okay. Like, so it's just kind of like different ways of doing things, depending on how you are. And you can think about your own parents and how your own parents were and how they parented you. And then you kind of can be like, oh my gosh, like my mom had me learning how to cook. She let me go bake in the kitchen and she let me do whatever. And she really taught me a lot of skills. Like maybe mom was yellow. Maybe mom really wanted you to be self-sufficient as a cook, like that kind of thing. So you can kind of think too, like what the attributes are of the color and then, assign it to your parents and be like, oh my gosh, how did that affect me? And how did that help me? Or how did that's like something I wasn't cool with, but that was authentic to them, so different
100%.
things like that.
For sure. No, I love it. And then what about as far as like, your girls, like, do you obviously you see your child's aura, right? Yeah. So how has that kind of shaped the way that like you kind of support their individuality? Because I want to say from your podcast, both your girls are pretty different as far as like personality.
So weird. Yeah, it's
and
weird.
colors,
like,
I'm assuming.
No, I think we all who have kids were like, you think you did the same thing, but then they come out so different. You're just
That's
like,
what I've heard. Yeah.
You're like, okay. Yeah, so aura color is like just between me and my husband and how we talk and just how we deal with the kids and just how we talk about the kids and how we're like, okay, this is different kids need different things. And it's so funny because I did a couple podcast episodes on this just because like parenting for different aura colors is a thing. Like my red aura 16-year-old, like she needs to feel like she's gonna win, or there is a challenge, or there's something that she did. So sometimes when I talk to her, I'm like, okay, like what's like, okay, for example, she had to take all her big exams, and I'm like, listen, if you pass all your exams, I'll buy you a cake. And it'll say, you passed all your exams, good job, or something like that. And she's like, a cake? I'm like, yeah, I'll get you a cake, like that. And that like kind of like motivated her. She's like, all right, I'm going to get that cake. I'm like, but if you don't pass, I'm not getting you that cake. You're not having that cake. And
Oh
she
my God.
like, if for her, she needs that. Now, if I did that to my little purple turquoise one who's 10, she'd cry. She'd be like, I get it. And I just get her the cake anyway. But like my red one, like she needs, you have a red, like she needs to know there's like skin in the game or something. So the way that we talk about the kids and our approaches and stuff definitely deal with like their energy and how they hear things and how they understand things and how they interpret what we're saying. Cause we all have like a filter on us.
Right.
And like when I talk, you're interpreting it through your filter and vice versa. So the auras are kind of like the filters that you understand how your kid is hearing something. And but they also have to understand that like I have a filter too, and this is how I heard it. So and I think just because I'm a purple indigo mom, so I'm a lot like you. So you'll probably be like this. You probably already are like this, even though you just have like a little 14-month-old. I explain a lot about mommy's feelings. I'm like, mommy is tired right now. Mommy is like, like, and that's
Yeah.
just, I used to do it when they were this little, and I still do it now. I'm like, listen, guys, like, I hit a wall today, and it's mac and cheese tonight, and they're just like, okay, like I'm not. So kind of being authentic, I think, is helpful with the kids, but we talk about it in aura color all the time.
Yeah, no, I love that. So like what about obviously if you're very vocal about like what you do, right? And you're very authentic in who you are, but I am curious, especially like if maybe like you meet like a new mom or something, whether it's like a play date or like if your girls are in sports or whatever it might be, right? Have you ever felt like you had to kind of dial down your abilities in motherhood, as far as like, like the mommy PTA meeting, whatever it might be, like to kind of maybe like feel like you have to fit in that moment or be more relatable, or are you kind of just like, no, this is who I am, take it or leave it kind of thing?
100%. I like there's Mystic Michaela and then there's just like me, and I'm kind of just like a quiet wallflower person, honestly. So when I go to curriculum night or I talk to the teacher or I go to the ballet recital or whatever, I'm just there. I'm not usually
Mm.
like an outspoken because that's just not how I am as a person. But if you're asking about like how I balance like what I do with like the motherhood aspect, like people definitely are weirded out by me. And I feel that all the time. And it's very,
What?
yeah, oh yeah, all the time. And it's
Oh
very,
my God.
I know, because I have this like beautiful community, the
Yeah.
podcast, and like I have my Facebook group, the Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family, and like they're fine. Anything I do with that, like, of course, we're all talking about it. But like if I go to an event or something where I'm more fish out of water, I think my own energy is like, because if they, especially when they know what I do, people immediately think I'm being nosy or like I don't know, they don't. I think I'm less easy to trust, if that makes sense. So it's something I do
Gotcha.
pick. It's something I do pick up. And I have gotten like left out of things and things like that. And I have my own friends, and my own crew and my own people and my family, so I'm fine. It's not like poor me or anything like that. But it definitely is something I notice, and it definitely is something that you know what, I just thought about this. I think what's different about me in the past and me now is I don't care. Like I think I
Mm.
used to try, like, oh my gosh, never mind, I'll do this. What can I do? Do. Let me find the queen bee of the group and kiss up to her so that my kid is involved or whatever. And now I'm just like, I don't give a crap. Like we're just going to show up and be polite and be civil. I think that's the difference. Like I don't care as much as I used to because I don't need that. Like I used to. But that's just a personal growth thing.
I'm so proud of you because that's really hard, and especially because like you and I are so similar, but that is so hard. I can not care all day, but then I catch myself like, oh damn, maybe I do a little bit, and I don't know why or where I got this from, but I get like really defensive and it's so weird because I'm like, where did this come from? And I can be like that, and like I don't do it all what you do, but I just feel like even like with like doing radio, whatever, I feel like people think, well, first of all, people think I'm like a cartoon character and I'm gonna like do a skit or something. I just like don't get that. I'm like, I'm not doing like a show right now. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm not like a one woman show just standing here. Or people just assume things, right? Like, oh, you can get me free stuff. And it's like, I ain't getting you free nothing. Like, no, you know what I mean? People, I think, and I feel like you can relate to that in that way too. I'm sure people either they, like you said, they don't want anything to do with you, or they want everything to do with you, but not in a good way,
Right, right. I've had more experiences where people, I think, I don't know, because I'm so good at like, well, just join the Facebook group or hang out or listen to the podcast, or like if you're into it, like come on, let's go. Like I love that part. But I think it's also I'm from up north, like you are. Like I'm from Buffalo, and I think there's some sort of like up north mentality where we can kind of put a little like okay, like bubbler a
Yeah.
little bit. And we can
Oh
kind of
yeah.
be like, oh, okay, here's a polite distance between like that. And then I think people pick that up quickly. But it's interesting with you what you said, just being defensive. And I think that just like was interesting to me how you said that. Here I am taking over like it's my podcast. But I'm like,
No,
I
please.
want to know more about that, because I wonder if that's your purple, like picking up their interpretations of you and you being like, no, let me stop you here. Like that a little bit. Like what's that about?
It could be, and I have no idea where this comes from, and I'm working on it so hard in therapy, but I feel like yeah, I get like really defensive if people think something about me because let's just say I said this on the radio once or something, or when I first started, for example, on the show, like I know by no means did I go on the radio and go like I'm gonna be like this dumb fun girl, but like I'm who I am, and I'm like, hey, if I don't know this, I'm gonna say it, and I think I did let unfortunately like previous people on the show almost kind of like disrespected me to the point where like it was it wasn't great, right? So like now that I look at it, whatever, like people felt comfortable. I think they opened up a door where they felt comfortable to like be disrespectful towards me or just saying mean things to me. And one thing that so I struggle with that, but then I also struggle with, and this is where my husband and I fight a lot, is not being believed. So if like I struggle so hard with it, and if that's a childhood thing, I know that because that's how my stepfather was, and it was like a whole thing, and now I feel like I'm reliving a cycle. But if I was to tell you, oh yeah, Mystic Michaela, I don't know, like my favorite color is purple, and you were like, no, I think it's green. I see you wearing green all the time. Like I don't know. I'm like, no, it's purple. Like
Yeah.
I get so defensive. Like I need you to believe me because A, I'm telling the truth. And number two, I'm bothered that you don't believe me. So I think, I don't know if it's the blue or like the purple part of me, but that's where it comes from. I've noticed.
That's interesting. Yeah. It's not, unfortunately, like purples can deal with a lot of like, I had to call it purple shaming because it's just so easy, and pinks deal with this too, but it's so easy in our society that really does favor the logical aura colors like green or yellow or red, that when
Mm,
somebody's more emotional or they're authentic or they're like not scared of making mistakes the way most people are, like it's like, oh, I got to take you down a notch by saying you're stupid or discrediting you or treating you like you're a character or whatever. So that's interesting. But it's interesting that you're in this context where,
hmm
in one way you're like fighting it and you're like dealing with it in your head on, and then you have your podcast here. So you're like, okay, I'm going to amplify voices, which is what I need. And I'll do that for other people, which I think is really empowering and a way to heal that. It's really cool.
Oh, I never saw that connection. I like that because I'm like,
Cool.
I know there's a purpose to like why I'm so gravitated towards the things that I'm doing, right? The things that I love, because there are things that excite me in life, and this is like one of them. And I'm continuing to hopefully, keep growing this. And I'm so grateful for you and the guests who have been on here. Like to me, it's like unbelievable, but that's a whole other conversation. I'm like, you guys said yes to me,
I know.
and it
It's
makes me so
everybody gets so,
happy.
that's so sweet.
I mean it, but also to me, it's like even bigger than like just like little old me. I'm like, we're showing up for other moms, right? Because when I became a mom, and that's why I created this podcast, I was like, well, I really want to create a platform, a podcast, all that stuff, even a blog. I mean, I have the website up just because I'm like, I want to share my experiences, but I also want moms to feel like they're not alone in motherhood. A, B, there's a community, but like, I don't want moms to lose themselves in if they have felt like they lost themselves in motherhood, because that's so easy to do and there's no shame about that. I want you to feel like you have a place to come home to, aka to reclaim your power. So like, is it, wellness? Like, oh, I want to, just like feel better. That's where I'm at. I want to like I'm starting to run. I'm starting to move my body more. Financially, I know a lot of moms like, once you have a kid, like your kid kind of comes first. Like I've had to say no to a couple bags and opportunities because I'm like, well, I don't have a babysitter, or I'm not going to be away from my daughter for a week, so it's like, it's really hard. So I'm just like, well, how do I kind of still follow my dreams, right? Still do what I do, but also, still be a really good mom. I do think both can coexist. I love your thoughts on this too, if you don't mind. I do think both can coexist as far as like being ambitious, still having goals and dreams, and then being a wonderful mom. So how does Mystic Michaela, how do you do it in terms of like being a mom? You're a super present mom, by the way, and an amazing one at that. And your girls, I met them when they came to the radio station.
Yeah.
They were younger, but they were so sweet. But how are you doing this? Because you run a business full time. Like you left teaching to run the business. You run the podcast. You're an author. So how are you doing both?
Yeah, and I just was talking to my husband about this the other day. I was like, if I wasn't a mom, I don't think any of this would have happened, actually, which is a very opposite from, I think, what a lot of people think about motherhood. So when I started all this, my old one was 5, and yeah, no, she was 4, and I didn't even have my other one yet. It was like 2013. And then, so I started I was like, I'm going to get serious, but I'm going to do it back in 2013. This has been a while now. And then it really started taking off when I got pregnant with my second one at 15-ish. And then it really took off like in her first 2 years of life. And so I had like a 6-year-old, a 7-8-year-old, and then like a 1-2-year-old. And it was exhausting and it was absolutely insane. But it was also something where it's just like you said, like I can't I can't go away. I can't move to LA. I can't say yes to XYZ. I have to say no more than I say yes. So what do I do? So then I would sit there and be like, okay, how do I make my own magic then? How do I do it for myself? Like, how do I have the control? Like, I'm already awake because, moms don't sleep. And I'm already running like on no food or sleep. So it's really weird, like the jazzy energy you get from being so exhausted. So you're sitting there and you're reading a book and you're present, but like, I think being a mom is like, you feel the most stuck in a lot of ways, but your mind has a lot of time to kind of expand and think and rework stuff. And I call it the mom zone because this is where a lot of ideas go to be planted. And then you're like, hey, wait a second. You're sitting there like making food for the kids and you're like, oh, why don't I just do this? Or why don't I try that? Or oh, I should just call this person. Or what if that worked out? Or how would this opportunity work if it was perfect for me? Like I remember thinking that all the time. Like, what's the best way I could do something that the kids were involved or whatever? Like, for example, coming to see you guys and you were so nice to let me bring my kids with me to a radio station. Sweet. But you know what I mean? So I think like, when you're a mom and you're in the trenches, like you're in the thick of it, you can feel very stuck and you can feel like, oh my gosh, I'm saying no all the time. But then you can use that energy to be like, okay, but what else could I do? Like if I can't make this, how do I take the scraps and make something else? And that's why I was just telling my husband the other day, I'm like, if it wasn't for being a mom, I would never have all those nights I was just laying there thinking, or all the time. I'd probably be doing other things instead of that. Does that make sense?
Yes. And I think you nailed it on the head of exactly what like Mami Collective stands for, because my whole just thought process behind this was, well, never would have happened if I didn't have a kid, because then I don't know how I could like relate. I could relate to women, of course, but like obviously other moms, it's like a whole new, ballpark. And then number 2, I'm like, well, I know we're moms. I know we're busy. It's the hardest job in the world, but like, I know that there's, especially for those who are yearning for it, I know there's something in there for you. How do we get those ideas out? And I like obsessed with what you said. And you're just like, yeah, you're a mom, you're busy physically, you might be, you know, whatever, but you have like a lot of, and that's so true. Like I always felt like this whole year of motherhood, my first year, I had my brain running and running with ideas. I would write them down, to be honest, just so I could like not forget, you know?
Yeah,
So what
and that's,
happened?
I think that's the gift of it. And I think motherhood, there's a lot of ways to have transmutation in life and transformation in life. And you know, there's other things other than motherhood. There's other phases we can go through to get there. I think motherhood is one where you burn it all down to build it back up.
Mm.
And then as you build, and it hurts. It hurts. And you're hurting, and if it's beautiful and it's wonderful, and it's true, but it also is difficult. But when you rebuild it, you have choices, and you're rebuilding it different, and that can look like, you know what, this is my new routine. It can be really, sometimes it's really tiny, like this is my new routine for cleaning the house, this is my new routine
Mm.
for dinners, this is my new routine for working out. I
Yes.
remember when I never worked out until I had my first kid, and this is okay, ready, real mom talk, here we go. The only reason why I started working out is because the gym with the YMCA had child watch, and they
Yep.
would watch my kid for an hour, and I'm like, oh, an hour? Like, take him, take her, here you go.
Yes.
And that was like, and I'm like, well, not I could just sit there in the lobby, but I'm like, whatever, I'll go, and I would just like walk on the treadmill, just whatever. Just that hour meant everything to me. It was like, oh my god, I'm a human again.
And
Oh
there's
my
no
god.
shame in that.
Yeah.
I love it. I love a break. I love a village. If that's something that, you have access to, I love it all.
Started
You
it, because
know?
now it's just a habit, so like I'm like, oh, that's great, so kids, there's gifts in there, you just got to kind of dig for them, and then also have like perspective shifts a lot. And I think that when you do that, then you're like, oh my gosh, like instead of seeing it one way, it's like, okay, how do I just move it around in my perspective and put it a different way? But sometimes like it can also mean relationships break down, but new relationships, build up. It's really crazy, like what kids do to you. They take
Mm.
reality and they just throw a rock at it, and it shatters, and you're like, oh, well, I didn't know all that. And then you're just dealing with a whole new viewpoint on everything. And so that's why motherhood's so flippin' overwhelming, especially the first couple of years, because you're just like, holy crap.
Yes.
I never would have had 75% of the ideas in my head that I do now if it weren't for being a mom.
That is such a great perspective. I love this because I thought I was like alone. I'm like, is my brain expanding or something? I'm constantly like more ideas, or like I'm shifting, like you said, the way that I'm doing something, whether it's dinner, whatever. Because I'm finding what works for me, and I scream this in the podcast. I'm like, do what works for you and your family. Like my dinner looks different than Mystic Michaela's, right? Like, or how we might do things. You might even eat at 5. I might eat at 7 because I'm gonna do what's gonna work for us, and you're gonna do what works for you guys. So I think that that's such a great start for moms who are looking to kind of reclaim a part of themselves, right? Their identity, whatever it might be they're looking to do. Really quickly, if we can kind of maybe touch the surface of this, it'd be a great kind of start for some moms. For each aura color, can you sort of give like a good maybe or just some inspiration of what maybe they can tap into, or what you see moms with those aura colors kind of just kind of like do on the side or whatever? Because I know with this podcast a lot of moms, if they're like stay-at-home moms, or moms that maybe like have a lot of free time, but they want to, or not a lot of free time, no moms has a free time, but if
Yeah.
a mom has like more creativity, kind of like building up in her brain, I know a lot of times I get asked, like, what do you recommend that maybe I can like kind of get into? So I think with knowing your aura color, I think then you'd be kind of good at, or that's a good start, right? To maybe like, oh, hey, I'm making this up. You're a purple. You'd be really good at, selling this on Etsy or whatever it might be, right? Like, what kind of ideas can you sprinkle around for some moms who are looking for
Yeah.
motivation?
So I would say like reds like to feel in control. So when you're a mom, you don't always feel in control. So it's like, how do I get in control? And like your body is a good place to put it. So, and reds usually just, this isn't me, by the way, like, but reds are like, maybe like working on strength training or just something like that. And then,
Ooh,
yeah, just like go for it. Like try a new thing. Sometimes women aren't always welcome in the gym. Like go to a gym where you feel welcome.
I love that.
Blues, I would say like get into like baking or like what's blues love tradition. And so like what's the dish? What's grandma's recipe? Like what's the thing? Like what am I going to bring to every Sunday dinner? Or like think about how do I incorporate love into the daily? I think
I love it.
blues are good like that. And then also and I mean all these could like translate to business ideas too, by the way. But then yellows are great at advice. Anybody who's yellow doesn't know they're yellow. They think that their life is messy. So I would say like, hey, do the people around you think you have it all together? And if the answer is yes, you're probably yellow. So yellows are really good at maybe going back to school, like maybe like learning how to redecorate houses, getting your interior design game going on, or like maybe redecorate a room or something like that. I would say like with yellows, it's like take control over your house, like do something like that. And then indigos, get into like some sort of book series or just like deep dive into something that you've always been wanting to do. I remember when I was going through a really tough time in my early motherhood, I read all the Game of Thrones books. I was like, gonna read all of them. And then I read like a bunch of classics. I don't know. I felt good about myself. It helped. And
I love
it's
it.
always like a flex. Like, yeah, I've read that. It's always been like a bit of a flex.
Totally.
When somebody read the book, they never shut up about it. And I'm like,
No,
and I think that's an indigo thing. Okay. And let's say you're turquoise, I would say maybe go to like a Reiki training, like, if that calls to you. Yellows too, like if you like yoga training, like little things like that. Like use this time to kind of work on yourself. Turquoises, maybe Reiki or classes or retreat or something like that. Purples. Think about how to work differently. I think that's a big thing for purples. They don't do well in micromanaging 9 to 5 jobs. So like, what's a thing you can do that feeds you for the moment? I remember this is really long time ago. I was really stuck because I had my first kiddo and I did not want to go back to teaching. Like, listen, if teaching was just kids, I'd probably still be teaching. Everything else made me hate teaching. Like I love teaching children, but like all the nonsense or whatever, and then the routine. Okay, anyways, but I remember I was so stuck. I'm like, I can't go back. I can't go back. I can't go back. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just like nanny, and so I just watched a kid. And that like was income and it kind of was a Band-Aid job for me. So maybe you got to think about things like that when you're purple. Like what's a Band-Aid job until I come up with something else or just so I don't feel like I have to betray myself by going to a place I don't want to go anymore or whatnot. So just, I guess it's kind of like thinking outside of the box, but working within the context of your personality and what already brings you kind of joy and excitement and gets you thinking about like, okay, well, this actually sounds fun, like that. And then leaning into that. Does that make sense?
Yes, because you're talking about me with that purple. That is something that I've done before I did radio. I literally nannied. It was a Band-Aid job, but it was me figuring things out / like I kind of knew where I wanted to go and I wasn't going to really like accept anything different because I didn't want to get too derailed. You know what I mean? Like kind of like it.
Yes.
I was like, well, what can I do that's like light and fun? And I worked for the Chicago Park District with like teaching 3 and 4 year olds. So I was like, okay, this kind of all relates. I've done it before, right? And like I love nannying. Like one of my favorite jobs.
They're so real.
They're so great. One of my favorite jobs, honestly. Like I loved every second of it. But no, I love that. So Mystic Michaela, I appreciate you more than you know, and I'm so grateful that you were here today and like we're able to talk to the moms listening. Where can we listen to your podcast, of course, and find you on social? And then of course, if anybody, I don't know if you're taking appointments or not, if anybody wants a personal reading with you, a one-on-one, where can we do all of that?
So much for having me. Yeah, so I'm on Instagram at Mystic Michaela. And you can get my book, What's My Aura, anywhere you buy books. You can listen to my podcast. Anywhere you listen to podcasts, it's Know Your Aura with Mystic Michaela. I have my Substack, The Mystic Michaela. And I don't know, mysticmichaela.com. I mean, it's really easy to find me.
It is. I mean, yes,
And
that's very true.
it's such a nice little, our crew is called like the Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family, and it's such a fun, kind of down to earth woo woo crew. So it's normal people, you know, talking about this stuff. So everyone's welcome to join.
Yes, I'm in that group too. I love to see like the conversations that go down. They're so fun. But like it's a fun place and I feel seen and very much heard. So I love it. Well, thank you, Mystic Michaela. We appreciate you being here.
Thank you, Paulina.